This is the Focus Shift podcast, your best listening experience for creating your best online business. We'll focus on topics that help you get discovered. So sit back, listen, take notes if you like, and get excited about growing your business.
So, have you ever navigated to a website that, maybe it just cost $500,000 to build, right?
Yeah, you see those a lot.
Right. The design is just stunning. Like, there's this cinematic video background playing, the typography is super modern, but then when you actually try to find the Contact Us button...
Good luck.
Exactly. Or, you try to just add an item to your cart and you literally can't. It is this gorgeous, completely unusable maze.
It's basically a digital museum piece at that point.
Yes. Or maybe you've been on the internal side of this, like you've been part of a website redesign project that started as a really quick update and then somehow, I don't know how it happened, spiraled into this year-long nightmare that just completely devoured your budget and your sanity.
Oh, it's notoriously one of the most painful, just universally misunderstood processes a modern organization can go through. People constantly underestimate the physical and the digital architecture required to actually pull it off.
Which is exactly why we are dedicating today's deep dive to mastering the art of the 2026 website redesign and brand refresh. And we have pulled an absolute mountain of source material to get to the bottom of this for you.
We really have. There's a lot of ground to cover.
Yeah, we've got design best practices from top agencies like Lounge Lizard, Digital Silk, Seller Art, and PhotoBiz. We are pulling SEO roadmaps from Search Engine Land. We've got content auditing guides from Content Strategy Inc., and mobile-first engineering specs from Vortex Web Innovate.
Plus the security side.
Right. Cybersecurity warnings from the Cloud Security Alliance, and even this highly specific Japanese e-commerce product page just to ground all of this high-level theory in actual messy reality.
So the core mission of this deep dive, essentially, is to synthesize all of those perspectives. We want to give you the ultimate shortcut to modernizing your digital presence and doing it without, tanking your organic traffic, without alienating your current users, and certainly without leaving your back end completely exposed to hackers.
Right. So let's unpack the very first step, because before anyone writes a single line of code, or before you get into a massive argument over a new color palette on a Zoom call, we have to know what we are actually changing.
And to define the scope.
Exactly. A lot of redesigns fail right out of the gate because teams literally don't know if they are doing a light remodel on the kitchen or if they are bulldozing the entire house and pouring a new foundation.
And that distinction is where the data from Seller Art is incredibly illuminating. They draw a very hard line between a brand refresh and a full rebrand.
Okay, so break that down for us.
Yeah, so a refresh is really about refining what already works. The core strategy of your business remains intact. Your target audience is exactly the same. You're just essentially modernizing the execution of it.
Just a facelift, basically.
Right, and according to their data, a refresh typically takes 1 to 2 months, and you're looking at a budget somewhere between $15,000 and $50,000.
Okay, but contrast that with a full rebrand, which is a completely different beast.
Oh, entirely.
A rebrand fundamentally changes the core strategy and the market positioning of the company. That is a 6 to 12-month project, and the costs skyrocket to $200,000 or more.
Yeah, it's a massive jump.
Right, and you might wonder, what is that $200,000 actually buying? It's not just a new logo, it's rewriting the company's DNA. You've got trademark legal fees, entirely new market research, you have to retrain your sales teams, migrate thousands of assets. It's a huge undertaking.
Yeah.
But Seller Art actually notes that 74% of S&P 100 companies go through a full rebrand in their first 7 years.
Which is wild.
Mm-hmm.
But companies constantly confuse the two, right?
Yeah.
They'll initiate a $200,000 rebrand when their market positioning is actually perfectly fine. Like their digital presence is just painfully dated, but they burn all this capital fixing a strategic problem they don't actually have.
I always think of it this way. A brand refresh is like going to a high-end tailor and getting a bespoke suit. You're still you. You're just presenting a much sharper, more modern version of yourself to the world. A rebrand is like entering the witness protection program.
That is exactly it.
You get a new name, a new identity, an entirely new backstory.
Yeah, the witness protection program is a great way to put it.
But, okay, let's assume you're staying out of witness protection and you're just doing a refresh. Looking at the aesthetic trends for 2026 from Lounge Lizard, the focus is really on this hyper-minimalism.
Right.
We're talking about get-to-outcome navigation, which means putting absolutely no more than 6 items in your top menu. It includes using respectful, subtle motion.
Display backgrounds.
Right, the video backgrounds that PhotoBiz recommends, and leaning heavily into AI-driven personalization. But I actually have to push back a little on this minimalist trend. I mean, are brands just falling victim to blanding?
Blanding.
Yeah. You know that phenomenon where everyone copies the exact same minimalist template, they strip out all their unique personality, and then suddenly all websites start looking like the exact same generic sauce company?
Well, blanding is a very real danger, and Seller Art explicitly warns against it. But the goal of a refresh is not to chase whatever sleek visual gradient happens to be, trending on Behance this week.
Right.
The goal is strategic evolution. If a design choice doesn't serve the functional strategic foundation of the business, it's entirely useless decoration.
So give me an example of that. What separates a strategic design choice from just pure decoration?
Okay, take the shift toward minimalist, high-contrast color palettes. A lot of designers think, oh, it just looks clean and modern. But the strategic reason to adopt that palette is to pass WCAG 2.2 accessibility tests.
Oh, interesting.
Right. WCAG stands for Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. It's actually a mathematical calculation of the contrast between your text color and your background color.
So it's not subjective?
Not at all. If you use a trendy, light gray font on a white background, visually impaired users, or honestly, someone just standing outside in the bright sun, they cannot read your text. You fail the test. So the high contrast minimalism isn't about looking cool. It's about making sure human eyes can physically process your information. Form must follow function.
That brings us perfectly to the next phase, actually, because a visually accessible, gorgeous brand means absolutely nothing if the user's physiology and their actual physical device can't interact with it.
Right, you're dead in the water.
Yeah, we have to move from visual strategy to ergonomic reality.
And the mobile experience in 2026 is governed by extremely strict, unforgiving performance budgets. Vortex Web Innovate really lays this out in their engineering specs. You can no longer just build a desktop site and rely on responsive CSS to sort of squish it down to a phone screen.
Right, those days are over.
Way over. You have to engineer for mobile first, and that means respecting Google's core web vitals. Specifically, your largest contentful paint or LCP must be under 2.5 seconds.
Let's translate LCP for a second, just to be clear. That is simply a measurement of how long it takes for the single biggest element on your screen, usually, like the hero image or the main headline, to become fully visible.
Exactly.
If that takes longer than 2.5 seconds, the user literally assumes your site is broken and they bounce.
Yeah. And then there is interaction to next paint, or INP, which has to be under 200 milliseconds.
Wow, 200 milliseconds.
Yeah, INP measures latency. So when a user taps a button, how long does it take for the page to visually acknowledge that tap? If it takes half a second, the user thinks they missed, they tap again, they get frustrated, and the whole experience just feels broken.
Right, it feels laggy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So to hit these numbers, Vortex states your total page weight has to be under 1.5 megabytes. You cannot use old, heavy JPEG images anymore. You have to utilize next-generation image formats like AVIF or WP.
Because those compress the visual data without losing fidelity, right?
Right, exactly.
So, okay, the data has to be really light, but the physical layout of the page actually has to fundamentally change to accommodate the human hand. We have to design from the thumb outward.
Yes, this is crucial.
This means bottom-aligned calls to action and bottom-aligned navigation menus. Because the top half of a phone screen is basically just visual real estate now, the bottom half is the actual control center.
Because of how we hold our phone.
Exactly. And Vortex gets incredibly specific about touch targets. The buttons themselves must be a strict 48 pixels minimum on their longest edge. There has to be at least 8 pixels of dead space separating any interactive elements, and your fonts should never drop below 16 pixels.
And again, the physics of the human thumb completely dictate those numbers. Anything smaller than 48 pixels produces accidental taps. And an accidental tap doesn't just annoy the user.
It makes them want to throw their phone.
Pretty much. It completely shatters their flow and erodes their trust in your digital storefront.
I actually want to paint a vivid picture for you here, leveraging that specific source we have from the Japanese e-commerce site, specificit.com.au.
Oh, I love this example.
It's so good. Imagine a mechanic working in a garage. They are holding their phone with a greasy thumb, and they are trying to quickly replace a broken tool. They navigate to buy the KTC GW100-03 9.5 SQ 36-gear preset torque wrench.
Very specific.
Hey, it's in the source. It costs 11,451 yen. They are ready to buy. But if the Add to Cart button isn't anchored at the bottom of the screen, or if it is smaller than that 48-pixel minimum, their thumb might accidentally clip a tiny link right next to it that says, read all 9,000 customer reviews.
And just like that.
Boom! The page violently redirects them away from the checkout. You just lost a sale. They're going to close the tab, open Amazon, and buy it there.
And that exact friction is why Vortex demands that development teams test their designs on real, mid-range Android devices, like just a standard Pixel 6a, while connected to a slow, sketchy cafe Wi-Fi network.
Not the pristine Office gigabit connection.
No, because testing a redesign on a high-end desktop computer using a mobile simulator creates a really dangerous illusion. A powerful desktop processor is fast enough to just brute force its way through sloppy, heavy code.
Right.
But a 3-year-old phone on a 3G connection is not.
Okay, so we have the buttons sized perfectly for the mechanic's greasy thumb. The next-gen images load in under 2.5 seconds. But how did the mechanic actually find the page in the first place? Because if you launch a beautifully optimized site, but you neglect the underlying mapping, users and search engines will just click a link and hit a dead end. A 404 error page.
This invisible architecture is where redesigns quietly fail. They completely fail. Content Strategy Inc. emphasizes that you cannot just migrate everything blindly. You need 3 distinct types of audits before you move a single byte of data.
And those are?
Quality, structural, and migration audits.
Yeah.
And to really understand why this is so critical, look at the staggering statistic they pull from Jerry McGovern.
Oh, the Microsoft one.
Yes. Microsoft once did an audit of their massive website. They had 10 million pages. They discovered that 3 million of those pages had never been visited. Not a single time.
3 million pages built, hosted, and indexed just sitting in the dark. That is digital hoarding on an industrial scale.
It really is.
And it happens because, it is psychologically and bureaucratically easier for a company to just hit publish on a new page than it is to convene a whole meeting to decide what old content should be deleted.
Right. No one wants to do the housekeeping. But it creates a bloated, unsearchable mess. That is exactly why they recommend the Keep, Kill, Consolidate, Create framework.
Keep, kill, consolidate, create.
You force a decision on every single piece of content.
Great.
And for the pages you do decide to keep, Search Engine Land and Digital Silk lay down extremely strict SEO rules. You must obsessively map your old URLs to your new URLs using 301 redirects.
I always try to think of a 301 redirect like filling out a permanent change of address form at the post office.
That's a perfect analogy.
Right. If someone sends a letter to your old house, the post office intercepts it and permanently forwards it to your new house. In the digital world, a 301 tells Google, hey, this page has moved permanently. Please transfer all the SEO value and authority to the new location.
And you never want to use a temporary 302 redirect for a redesign, because that's just a vacation hold. It doesn't actually transfer the SEO equity.
And you are transferring that equity to protect your backlinks, right? Because the data shows that, 66.5% of all backlinks on the internet are broken?
Yeah, 66.5%. It's a huge problem.
A backlink is when another website links to yours. It is essentially the currency of the web. It tells Google your site is trustworthy. If a major news publication links to your old product page, and then you launch a new website with a different URL structure, but you forget to set up a 301 redirect, anyone clicking that news link just hits a 404 error.
And you instantly lose that hard-earned digital currency. Gone.
But I do have a practical question about this process, though. It's 2026. We have incredibly powerful AI tools. Can't we just feed a massive spreadsheet of our old website into an AI and have it completely automate this audit and the redirect mapping? Why do we still need humans staring at thousands of URLs?
Well, automation has massive utility, but the sources are super clear on its limits. An AI tool is fantastic for the objective data gathering.
Yeah.
It can crawl your site in seconds and flag, which pages load too slowly, which ones haven't been updated in 5 years, or it can score the reading level of the text. But human content experts are irreplaceable when it comes to the subjective strategic elements.
Oh, because an AI doesn't understand corporate politics or your long-term vision.
Exactly.
It can tell you a page only gets 10 visits a month and suggest you kill it, but a human strategist might know that those 10 visits are enterprise CEOs reading a highly specific white paper that generates millions in revenue.
Precisely. The AI is the engine processing the data, but the human still has to drive the strategy.
Okay, so we have the visual accessibility sorted, the mobile ergonomics are locked in, the content is audited, and the SEO map is built. It is finally time to actually build the environment.
Yes.
But where you build it and how you secure it before launch is what the Cloud Security Alliance calls the danger zone.
It really is a danger zone.
Yeah.
PhotoBiz and Digital Silk both mandate building on draft or staging URLs.
A staging environment is basically just a private sandbox, right?
Right. It allows your developers to assemble the new site, test the interactive elements, and QA the layout without breaking the live public-facing site that your current customers are actually using.
Which is obviously necessary, but Search Engine Land highlights this catastrophic SEO pitfall that happens during this phase. If you build a staging site, you absolutely must implement protocols to block search engine bots from indexing that staging URL.
Oh, it happens so often.
If you forget this step, Google will crawl your half-built, broken staging site and index it right alongside your live production site. You will trigger massive duplicate content penalties, confusing Google's algorithm as to which site is the real one, and your search rankings will just plummet overnight.
It's a nightmare. But beyond SEO, the actual cybersecurity risks are terrifying. The Cloud Security Alliance, citing research from Entro, warns that these staging environments are massive targets for hackers.
Right, because of the 2023 New Relic breach.
Exactly. Staging environments often contain the exact same sensitive proprietary code as the live site, but because it's quote-unquote just testing, companies don't monitor them with the same rigor.
So what are the actual vulnerabilities?
Well, they're really systemic. First is insecure secret management. Developers will sometimes hard-code API keys directly into the source code of the staging site just to, quickly test a database connection.
Which is basically the equivalent of a bank manager leaving the master key to the vault just sitting on the teller's counter because the bank happens to be closed for the weekend.
That's a great way to put it.
Right. If a bot scrapes that staging code, they have the key to your live database.
Yeah. They also highlight a lack of network segmentation and a lack of RBAC, which stands for role-based access control.
So RBAC basically means the summer intern shouldn't have the same administrative dashboard privileges as your lead systems architect.
Exactly. You have to compartmentalize who can touch what, even in the testing sandbox.
But there's another phrase in the Cloud Security Alliance source that really caught my eye: configuration drift.
Oh, yeah.
What is the actual mechanism of configuration drift? Like, how does that happen?
So configuration drift is really the silent killer of a successful launch. It occurs when the underlying technical environment of your staging server slowly falls out of sync with the environment of your live production server.
Okay, so they drift apart.
Right. So a developer might patch a security vulnerability or update a software package in the staging environment just to make a new feature work, but they forget to apply that exact same patch to the live servers.
So it's like baking two identical cakes. But while one is in the oven, someone sneaks into the kitchen and bumps the temperature up 10 degrees on the second oven.
Exactly.
The raw ingredients are exactly the same. The recipe was exactly the same. But the final outcome is going to be a complete disaster because the environment drifted.
That is the perfect way to visualize it.
Yeah.
And it leads to the most dreaded phrase in all of software development. Well, it worked in staging
Right.
because the moment they push the code to the live site, it catastrophically fails. Or even worse, the drift allows subtle security vulnerabilities to slip through your testing protocols entirely because your testing environment was no longer an accurate reflection of reality.
Staging is a proving ground.
Exactly. It requires the exact same architectural rigor as your live site.
Wow. Okay, we have covered a massive amount of technical and strategic ground today. Let's distill this into the absolute essentials so you can navigate your next redesign with total confidence. First, clearly define your scope. Are you refining your execution with a refresh, or are you rewriting your DNA with a full rebrand? Whatever you choose, do not chase visual trends. Let accessibility and strategy dictate your design.
Form follows function.
Second, build for the physical constraints of 2026. You must design layouts from the thumb outward, mathematically ensure those 48-pixel touch targets, and test your LCP and INP speeds on real mid-range phones on sketchy Wi-Fi.
Third, respect the invisible architecture. Do not hoard digital pages. Audit your content, kill the dead weight, and obsessively map your 301 redirects to protect your link equity.
And finally, secure the danger zone. block search engines from indexing your staging site, protect your API keys, implement strict access controls, and prevent configuration drift so that launch day is actually celebration, not a 5-alarm fire drill.
It's a lot, but applying this framework is really your shortcut to being a drastically smarter digital operator.
It really is. But before we go, I want to leave you with one final kind of provocative thought. This builds on Lounge Lizard's mention of AI-driven personalization.
Okay, where are we going with this?
Well, we spend all this time debating color palettes, right? And navigation menus and static layouts. But if design systems and artificial intelligence get incredibly good at reading real-time user intent signals, like if the algorithm understands exactly what you are looking for before you even click, what happens when the concept of a static website just dies entirely?
Oh, wow.
Right. Think about it. What if the next time you visit a brand's URL, there is no pre-designed homepage? What if an AI generates a completely bespoke user interface, pulling a custom color palette, layout, and content structure tailored specifically to your brain's cognitive preferences and your browsing history, all rendered in a fraction of a millisecond?
That is wild to think about.
In that world, does a visual brand even exist anymore, or does the algorithm itself become the brand?
I mean, when form fully adapts to the individual in real time like that, the entire paradigm of web design changes. It is a fascinating frontier.
Definitely something to mull over the next time you hit refresh. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep questioning the architecture around you, and we'll catch you on the next one.
The Focus Shift podcast is presented by PhotoBiz, the best website solution for photographers. Whether you're launching your site or scaling your online business, PhotoBiz has your back. To get started for free, visit photobiz.com today.